going on, keepers? I'm Kane and this is Noodle. And today we're going to be giving you a tutorial on how not to build snake racks. I say that because, well, everything I did was a little bit of a pain. I was going to give a full tutorial on how to build snake racks, but it turned out to be more of a, I got it done and here's what not to do. So anyway, stick around and see what we've got in store. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started on what we're going to be working on here. So I've already got a lot of my tubs over here and then some over here, and I've already got some measurements wrote down, but let's go ahead and show you how we're going to get that figured up. Alright, so what we want to do, and I'm going to try to do my best here with one hand, is we're going to measure this way from corner to corner. Don't do in the middle, try to go towards the edge just so you can get the most accurate reading. And then I know I just said go to the edge, but this particular tub has like a little handle knockout here, so we're going to break that rule and go to the edge there. What we want to do is measure to the nearest eighth of an inch. So like in this one, it is more like 9 3/16, but we're going to go ahead and round up 1/16 to 9 1/4 because we're not trying to get that precise. So 9 1/4, and then this way, kind of the same deal. We're going to go ahead and round up to 21 1/2, even though it's about it's about 21 5/16. So 21 1/2 and 9 1/4. So what we want to do to that is we're going to add 1/8 of an inch for our gap on a tub. So add 1/8 of an inch this way and 1/8 of an inch that way. And that's going to allow us a little bit of playroom. Now same way, measure up and down. Want to measure to the top of the tub. And here's a little trick for you. I just got a random piece of wood I grabbed from outside here. Now of course, whatever side you're using, make sure it's a level surface. It's a level edge. That it's not like bowed or miscut or whatever. But instead of trying to take your tape measure and measure up the edge and get down here and eyeball and is it this, is it that? A trick you can do is lay you a board on here. Sorry, I'm trying to do all this one-handed again. Lay you a board on here, and then let's see if I can balance my camera here. And what you're gonna do, so what you're going to do here is put you a board on the edge and then take your tape measure, and then you can measure up to the edge of the board. And so what we got on that was 3 3/8. Okay, rather than edit that out, I'm just going to correct myself here. So I did misspeak on one thing. On this measurement, front to back and side to side, I'm actually adding 1/4 inch. So that allows me 1/8 of an inch on both sides, and then 1/4 inch on the front to back, just so I know I got enough room for the tub. On the up to down, we're only going to be adding 1/8 of an inch. So these are the measurements that I've got here. This is after adding my 1/4 inch and my 1/8 of an inch. So this is for the 40 series tub for an example, because we're going to be doing 4 different style racks. So after adding 1/4 inch side to side, it come up to 13 1/4 wide. Same way, 1/4 inch added on front to back, it came to 34. So it would have been 33 3/4 or 13 1/4. I know all this can sound a little complicated if you're not measurement savvy, but just take your time. I promise it's not that hard. Just take a few extra seconds to look at your tape measure and try to figure out what it is. Alright, so these are my height right here. I don't know why I didn't draw an arrow on that one, but just for correction purposes. there we go. There's an arrow. All right, so from top to bottom here, of course this is the 10 series, but so we'll use it as an example. Top to bottom, I've got it at 3 5/8 height. So it would have been 3 1/2 inch without the extra 1/8 of an inch, but I've already got all the extras added in here. So 3 5/8 is how tall the space we need to make for this tub. Now I've got some other measurements here and we'll kind of go over those as we go. But this is going to be made out of 3/4 inch material. And I've got all my pieces I need to make here, and we'll kind of go over that throughout the video as well. And these are going to be the heights of my racks without any wheels. Once again, this will all be repetitive. We'll go over this more. And you're going to run into one issue. If somebody has a better solution, definitely tell me. But I just use the calculator on my phone to figure out heights. And so people don't know, okay, well, what is 3/8 as a decimal? So I've got you here written down on the back of the page. If you need to pause this so that you can save it, that is what it works out to be. So for example, if you have just a random number here, let's say you have 33 inches and 5/8, then if you're going to put that in on a calculator, it's going to be 33.625. That would be 33 inches and 5/8. And then same way, once you go to write it back to measurements, because you know obviously there's not decimals on a tape measure, there's fractions. So say you do your calculations to do something and you get 55 7/8 or 55.875, then you can look on your little cheat sheet here and you can figure out, okay, that's 55 7/8. I know, like I said, it sounds complicated, but it's really not. So just stick with me. We're going to make this as easy as possible. Some people is going to hear this and hear all the numbers and think that I'm making it sound more complicated. But honestly, I'm giving you all the answers. That way you're not trying to figure this out on your own. Alright, so stick around and we're going to get back to you. Alright, so don't mind the mess. Life is a mess. But this is what we're going to be building our racks out of. So I've got some 3/4 inch PVC board. I would have preferred to had 5/8. A lot of people make it out of 1/2 inch. I think 1/2 inch starts to bow a little over time. I would have preferred to have 5/8, but the person that I got it from didn't have 5/8. They had 1/2 inch or 3/4, so I opted for the 3/4. I actually found this on Marketplace from somebody that gets it secondhand. Just look up PVC sheets or synthetic plywood or plastic sheets and look on Marketplace. You're probably going to have to drive to get it. I got this one. It was actually 5 hours away from me, but I got these for $50 a sheet. And if you know the price of PVC, you can call a plastic manufacturer, but this is going to be, you know, $120 to $200 a sheet. So if you can find it secondhand, the reason it's so much cheaper, they get it secondhand from a factory. It might have some imperfections, discoloration, 16th in or out here and there, little dings and marks. But you know, if we're building snake racks out of it, I really don't care. For $50 a sheet versus $200, I will take a few imperfections. So there's advice on finding some of that. All right, so we started doing some cutting here. I'm not going to go over with you how I'm mapping out how to fit my pieces on each sheet. For the sake of time, that's just going to take too much. But I'll give you one example so that hopefully this can help you out. So both my 40 series tubs and my 70 series tubs are 34 inches long. And as I've already stated, we already added in our 1/4 inch width and length and our 1/8 inch height. That way we're not trying to figure that out on the fly. That's already in our measurements. So what I did was, you know, a regular sheet is 4 foot by 8 foot, 48 inches by 98 or 96 inches. So I cut the width of this sheet down to 34 inches, right? So this is the length of our tub, 34 inches, so that I can cut 17 3/4 sections out of this to start getting our pieces. A lot of this is going to make sense once you see it coming together. And then this also leaves a 14-inch wide piece. And if you look, our 40 series tubs are 13 1/4 inches. So cutting this 34 leaves us a 14 wide piece. So being 34 inches, we can get 2 of our 40 series pieces out of that. I know that's kind of a lot. I can't help you figure out each individual sheet. I could try to help you, but that's kind of on you. The best thing I can do is, you know, hate yourself and sit and play Legos in your mind for a minute and try to figure out what's the most you can get out of your sheets, because this crap's expensive. So what I'm doing is I'm gonna cut all of my squares I need, and then once I get done, I will cut my strips that's gonna hold the thing together. Future Kane here, that advice I just gave you about doing all your squares first, don't do that. Do all your strips first, because your strips are over 48 inches, and so you're gonna have a lot of waste off of your sheet that you can cut squares out of. Yeah, I figured that out the hard way, but that's why you watch my video and let me make the mistakes. All right, get back to you. So my 70 rack is gonna be 8 tubs high, 40 rack is gonna be 8 tubs high, 20 rack is gonna be 8 tubs high, 10 rack is gonna be 12 tubs high, but 3 tubs wide. All these are gonna be a single tub, so it's gonna be like a tower. So if you're building an 8 tub high rack, you're gonna need 9 sections, because you'll need 1 for underneath each one of them, and then 1 for the top one. Like I said, we're gonna keep going over this as we go in. Hopefully this ain't out of order for you, but you can always rewind and check back. I'm trying to make it as quick and simple as possible. So with that out of the way, I'm gonna go ahead and cut up a bunch of pieces, and then we'll check back in. All right, just want to touch base with you again, show you where I'm at. So I've got all the platforms cut for the 4 different racks. There's my scraps over there. You can see there's 2 bigger chunks. One of them I measured 3/4 to 1/4, and the other one I cut on the wrong side of the line, which I probably could have used, but I was like, hey, you know, I'm gonna need some scraps for different things, so just don't worry about it. I'm cutting everything with a skill saw. Just know this stuff is very dusty. It is ridiculous. So far I've used 6 sheets. I know it looks like 5, the camera trickery, but there's actually a partial on top of that. So like, I've actually used probably 5 3/4 of a sheet to get this. So I'm not going to be doing a fully enclosed side. I'm going to be doing like the strips. So now I'm going to cut those. I can probably use a couple of these scraps, and then I've got these left over. So I won't be able to tell you how much you'll need per rack, because I'm doing 4 different racks in one video, but that'll give you a quick little update there. All right, we're all finished up. We got all of our strips here. This is just an assortment of 3-inch and 7-inch strips. I'll explain them more afterwards. I ended up having 2.5 sheets left over out of 10. So if I had to make a rough guess, I'd say 2 sheets would build a rack. 2 to 3. 3 if you want to be safe. There's my scraps. And then I had to cut a bunch of these little blocks. I'll show you what they're for later on as well. But yeah, it took me, let's see, what time is it? It's 5:43. I started about 12:30. So it took me about 5 hours to cut all this. Of course, I do construction and handyman work for a living, so I'm kind of used to working with tools, but nonetheless, yeah. So I will report back to you when we start doing some assembling, and I can explain things a little better. It's quite a bit later in the series here. Our new little buddy here, Miesel. If you haven't seen him, it's our newest little puppy. Anyway, this is much farther ahead in the series because I'm just gonna be honest, I've had such a pain with these things, and I didn't feel like trying to record it. And honestly, I even thought about not even making the video, but I was watching a video of Paul Cafaro's, where he kept having issues, and I thought, you know what, he made his video, let me go ahead and make mine. So these is our panels here, as you can see how these are set up. I've got some other ones over here, but I'm just using these as an example. So if you're wondering why I left it sticking out on each side, it actually wasn't on purpose. What happened was, on the inside here, I don't know if you can hardly see that track, but this, I made these pieces 7 inches, and I don't know what happened with my math, but from corner to edge right here is 7 inches. So it would have been falling into here, which means I would have only been able to screw it right here. And my OCD was kicking in, so I was like, well, if I have to slide it in over here, then I'm going to slide it in over there. These dogs are a handful. So anyway, I routed this out, and I routed the sides out right here so that I can slide my tape in down through the cracks. Here's my heat tape, and that's currently where I'm at. I didn't give step to step on there. Hey, missile, calm down. So the reason I have one of these extra pieces right here is because it was actually supposed to be 8 levels high, and I think where this was secondhand material and the thicknesses varied, once I got to the top it wasn't tall enough, so I had to cut off to make it right. So what I ended up doing was taking and starting at the bottom and putting a tub in and putting some shims under it, setting the next piece on, screw it in, and do that over and over to get it the right height. It was quite the pain. So my sides ended up being the wrong measurements, so I had to scoop both of them back. My up and down distance ended up being wrong because of the thickness of this, so I ended up having to make it shorter, and it's just been one thing after another. So this is going to be more of a vlog and less of a tutorial, because, you know, if I was going to name this, which I probably will, it'll be how not to build a snake rack, because it's just been a complete headache. The only one that's really different, so I've already got the heat tape in these ones, and I'm not going to be videoing how to put the heat tape in because it's pretty cut and dry. You just run it through, tape it down with some metal tape, and use some prongs. The only one that was different is this 10 series one. I put these little blocks in here so that I could separate where the 10 tubs go, and that's in the front and back, and that's how I kept up with the height on it. But yep, progress is coming along. We're almost wrapped up here, and I'll check back in with you when I get finished. Alright, so I lied. I will tell you a little bit here. So I've got my tape right here, and I'm running it down through here. It's okay if it's upside down in some areas. The main thing you want to make sure is that it's right side up on the top one where you're going to hook your cord, or the bottom if you hook your cord at the bottom. But I would prefer to hook the cord at the top because I set my thermostat on the top, so shortest distance for the cord. Anyway, the main thing I've got here is some metal tape I got from Lowe's. It's highly heat resistant. I mean, they make regular metal tape, but this one's a heat resistant metal tape. And the other thing is, when you cut the tape, cut in the clear section. And the puppy getting behind the couch. The new challenge with this puppy. Cut in the clear section, never cut through the black. And when you do cut it, like this was the end right here, you want to take and put black tape over the end of it so that you can't touch it and get shocked, or it doesn't, you know, ground out on the stand. But anyway, just wanted to add that tidbit in there. So last little bit here I'm cutting my heat tape where it just barely goes up the wall. And all this is from Freedom Breeder. You take these clamps and you clamp them on top of this copper. So he's got these little prongs in it, pierces through it and makes contact. And same way with the cords. I got the cords from there. They're already cut the right size, and they fit. Hard to do this with one hand, but they fit in the ends of these prongs. Then you crimp them with the round part on the ends, and then you crimp them with the flat part on the flat. And one thing to make sure is once you get everything connected, make sure any bare metal is covered with electrical tape, because you don't want anything to be grounding on you or your stand. Alright, we appreciate you guys watching today's episode. I know it's been a while and I've definitely missed making the videos. Just like we've said in other ones, we're still working on getting moved. We're like this close, so when I say this close, I mean a few more months, but we're way closer than we have been. A lot's changed. I know there's stuff probably even in this picture that you're like, I haven't seen any of that. We just haven't had time to do an update. I promise I haven't forgot about you guys though, and I did at least get this one in there for you, and I promise we're going to be having more coming around soon. So remember, your hobby can bring you joy, but only Jesus can bring you peace. I hope to see you guys in the next one.